What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Saturday edition of The Weekender. Had to move these back the last couple of weeks because I don't want to say move back because I don't have a hard schedule for this Friday, Saturday, any specific time. But Warren's had to do a couple of NXT UK shows and some things that we had scheduled where I ended up doing these later than I wanted, but ultimately it's all the same content. So no sweat there, but I do have a big announcement for this Weekender show, and man, am I happy for it. I've told you guys before, I'm trying to get additional voices, different voices than just my own. I am on the Monday Raw show, the Tuesday SmackDown show, the Tuesday MMA show, the Wednesday Listing Your Boy show, the Friday Weekender. I am monthly on a retro review. I do a Q&A show almost every week at this point. It's so often. I am on MMA post shows, wrestling post shows. I want a little bit less of me and some more varied voices on this network. And I'm happy to announce that Steven Jensen of the Fight Talk podcast, who I had on an MMA podcast, will be taking over the Weekender, at least the reviews. Impact, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, NWA, BTE, that stuff's going to him. I'm going to do something different with my injury report and my my weekly, because I want to give that to you guys directly because I get those scoops and it's additional content essentially for you guys. So the review aspect of a lot of this is going to be expanded. Very excited about that. That will start in a couple of weeks. It'll be an audio show. Just really, really excited to have Steven on and essentially expand the content that you guys are going to have here without making you pay any more money for it. But without further ado, let's get into this week's show, or this week's shows, rather. It being the Elite, and I get the feeling James Ellsworth's not going to be used anymore on this show. I think that we've about seen the extent of that. He gets harassed by Arthur. You have SCU backstage, and they're explaining essentially the SCU hubris that Daniels has going on. Paige sees Cody getting his Stardust suit in the mail. I would love it if Cody sees Hangman discovering this, but Cody thinks that nobody else knows that he's Stardust and tries to protect it at all costs. That'd be funny. They run through Marty Scurll's boat schedule. It was wild, man. He had a lot of stuff going on. Flip is asked to grab that brass ring again after he's caught making a flog, which is a Flip video log. Jesus Christ. So Shark Boy shows up and gets super kicked too. And they're all like, yeah, I like that. Oh, I like that. More of that, Flip. Which is, you know where this is like Vince loving to get punched in the mouth. But then the Jackson just jump over Shark Boy. They're jumping the shark. Get it? Hangman Page's timer is running down, and Flip walks by and he says, yeah, mine says 2 years on it. That's great. I like that. My favorite part of this show is Omega comparing he's shown on the PWI 500. He's got the #1 spot. And someone said, oh, what's the payout like? And he said, about like the Bullet Club merch payout, which was funny. SCU's Scorpio Sky is on a date. He said, the only way that we can wrap up this night is with a big kiss. And he turns around, and Matt Jackson has a giant Hershey's kiss. More candy humor. Cody is possessed. He's rattling off SmackDown facts throughout the show and shaking. And that's how it concludes. We're starting to see more skits out of being the Elite. And I like that. Getting back to their roots, so to speak. Doing things the way that they were. I'm glad. I'm glad because they can get people over when they do humor and they do entertaining stuff and they do funny stuff. You get people, you establish personalities that way. Flip Gordon, the harmless rib deal, that helped get him over, man. That's one of the things that people looked for. people look forward to. I have a ton of results for you guys too, because there were some San Jose tapings. There were some Impact tapings this week, although one of those did air. So we'll give you those after the show reviews. NWA dropped a couple of episodes this week, 10 Pounds of Gold. I have a full 43-minute interview with Dave Lagana that still has not been released to the public, but it has been released to FightfulSelect Tier 2 members. Like, he's very transparent about what he tells me and stuff. Like, he opens up about any number of things in their business plans and what went wrong in NWA 70. We learn about Jack Swagger on this episode because Jack Swagger, now known as Jake Hager, also known as Jake Strong on Lucha Underground, they're champion on Lucha Underground. He's going to be facing Nick Aldis soon for the title. Do I think that Jack Swagger would be a good champion? Yeah, I think he'd be a fair champion, but they have firmly entrenched Aldis as that guy. And you have Catalina there, who is Jack Swagger's wife. Here's a fun behind-the-scenes story. You know, early on in Fightful, we had Shane Helms, Matt Riddle, Elias, Frank Trigg, Patrick Cote. A lot of these names do podcasts with us. I was in talks to have Jack do one, but the idea wasn't going to be me hosting it. It was just going to be him and his wife, Catalina, and he put her over hard. He's like, she's the draw. She's charismatic. She's the one with the personality. She's the one you want. And we got pretty close. We had a tentative light agreement, but it never got followed up on. So you almost had a Jack Swagger and Catalina podcast once upon a time. Didn't end up happening. We moved away from that just before we came to terms. But she was here too, and she spoke. I thought she spoke very well for pro wrestling. She's made a couple of appearances along with him, which is good. And he talked most about his desire. This wasn't as good of an episode as most because we know a lot about Jack Swagger. We know a lot about this stuff. But we didn't know a lot about him leaving WWE. I wish they would have expanded a little bit more on that, but maybe we'll get that. Nick Aldis' schedule is also gone over. These are very Aldis and Swagger-centered episodes. Aldis puts over the fact that from a cerebral standpoint, he's a little bit better than Jack Swagger. Either way, having a former Impact World Champion, former Global Force World Champion, current NWA Champion against a current Lucha Underground Champion and former WWE World Heavyweight Champion is a nice thing that you can put on there. And it's a nice thing that you can add and say, hey, this is another person from another company who has competed for our championship, as you work to really establish it and try to make it mean something a little bit more. I think they've done a really good job with that, with not just having Colt Cabana compete for the title, but having Colt Cabana compete for the title in China, I think goes a long way. That type of thing helps establish it as an NWA World Championship. And I'm going to pull up here the history of that title and some of the matches that they've had of late. Let's just look at it. You have Cody on pay-per-view in Nashville. You had Cody on pay-per-view at All In. You had Colt Cabana in China. You got Jack Swagger, former WWE heavyweight champion. I got to establish that. But you've got those. You've got Willie Mack on an ROH program against Cody. That's good stuff. They still had him face Brandon Scott at MCW Armageddon too, he being Nick Aldis. But, I mean, when I look at this and the way that they've been able to take it to like House of Hardcore, and they had him beat Flip Gordon on an ROH show. That's a good idea. They had him defend it at House of Hardcore in Australia 4 different times. So China, America, Australia, in England against Harlem Bravado. They've had him defending it legitimately throughout the world, which I think goes a long way in establishing a world championship. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're trying to do. I can't believe they haven't done it in Canada yet, quite frankly. I mean, that seems like an easy one. Mexico seems like an easy one. But it'll get there, and I think that they're doing a very good job of it so far. I'm on board with that. Dig what the NWA is doing. Lucha Underground. So no Lucha Underground this week, obviously. The season's over. A lot of question marks around that season, around the next season, and I don't know when it's going to happen. They're going to lose a lot of people. Cobb's out the door. Matanza's gone. Chelsea Green, Reclusa, who they just got, she's gone. Shane Strickland looks to be WWE bound. He's gone. So that's kill shot. See ya later. Out the door. I can't imagine that a Jack Swagger, if his career takes off with MLW and NWA and all that stuff, is going to hang around. I mean, he'll have to drop the title at some point, but Sami Callihan's career is only getting more packed. Pentagon's career, Ray Phoenix's career, only getting more busy. Cage, he's firmly entrenched in Lucha and Impact Wrestling. Kevin Cross, or the White Rabbit, Killer Cross, yeah. Tommy Dreamer, what's he going to have time to do? You're going to be stuck with a few guys. If they even come back. If they even come back. Let's take a look at Impact Wrestling this week. It was an okay show. Su Yung beats a jobber, doesn't pin her after the panic switch, which Don Callis always goes, why didn't he pin her? Or why didn't she pin her? Every time. I love it. The Mandible Claw does win it, though. Kiera Hogan comes out to help. Allie shows up, and Su Yung attacks Kiera from behind. And this is me every week watching this. Get ready, Steven Jensen. I mean, I'll still be watching it. I have to watch it for my job, but the fact that I have to watch it and then I have to reiterate that Allie's got this thing going on every single week, this stupid storyline. And you know it's going to extend until at least Rosemary comes back. And then when Rosemary comes back, you're probably getting another 3 or 4 months out of it. I don't need this. I need Kiera Hogan in the main event title scene of that women's title. And honestly, I think Tessa Blanchard and Taya should probably headline Homecoming. Speaking of, Sami Callihan against Cage for the X Division title. Callihan hits a running Death Valley driver in the corner. That looked great. Callihan is a beefy boy for that sounded terrible. But he is. He's beefy. The guy's beefy for his frame. He's not a slim dude. He's 5'11". His build weight is 200. He's way above that right now. And Cage being able to catch him doing a cannonball off the apron and then hold him and do a suplex is really impressive. I love Callihan using the ankle lock, even though he's not as agile as most X Division guys. He took Cage's offense, including the reverse pump handle, the outside in superplex, which I didn't know if he'd be able to, if Cage would be able to get on him. And an F5. Callihan pile driver looks like it's going to win. No real heat for this, but they're at Sam's Town. So what can you say? One of the all-time worst venues for wrestling. A grapevine ankle lock is applied by Callihan, but the drill claw wins. Cage needs to be taught to not breathe into the mic because he does this. At Homecoming, I am going to cash in option C. Don't do that, man. I'm ready to black out after that. Cage, man. I know you're a bigger dude. You're carrying a lot of muscle. But geez, dude. Say it, don't spray it, brother. Impact against Seidel. Seidel gets hit with a nice sliding German. Man, this is a few people do it quite as smooth as Johnny Impact. There is a nice corkscrew press onto Adam Page outside, who is, or not Adam Page, rather Ethan Page. My apologies. That was really great. I was worried about Impact initially because he was a little slow to get up. But he did. Seidel gets a Meteora, and a really good, just a really good Meteora. Eventually, Impact wins with the Starship Pain. This is a decent match. Good, fast-paced, hard-hitting. Most of the offense hit, which a lot of times with my when I watch a Johnny Impact match, a lot of the offense doesn't quite hit. He misses a little bit of it. And that's not something you can go with. Him and Kenny King, that's a match I don't want to see. A lot of their offense wouldn't hit. Killer Cross comes out, though. He cuts a cheesy promo where he does get the reaction where he says, in other companies, champions are protected. And I'm like, it's not that big. He looks around like, yeah, I went there. I was like, okay, man. Usually I like his promos, but this one it seemed like he put a little more juice into, a little more personality, and a little more just pep into. And I don't know if that necessarily works for him. But he's offering Johnny Impact his service and says that he is not the catalyst for change as he thought he was. Maybe Johnny Impact is. A good line is where Impact has to hold it together because Killer Cross says, everybody wants a piece of your ass backstage. And Impact's like, whoa, I'm married, sir. Jeez. Impact turns him down. Let's talk about this Tommy Dreamer promo. What a shit promo. First thing he does is come out in front of a bunch of 30-year-olds and say, you skinny jean-wearing millennials have forgotten about the history of wrestling. And I'm like, man, do you have your finger off the fucking pulse or what? Considering that he is often in a hardcore House of Hardcore locker room, Impact, MLW, and Lucha Underground locker room made up of all these people. I don't get it. And I don't know why we have to have Tommy Dreamer on every show. Why do we need to have him on every single program? I don't need to see him on Impact Wrestling. What does he add? Eli cuts a good promo on him, says that Dreamer never could be what he is, especially on the mic. Boy, isn't that the truth? Apologies, my mute button went off or got stuck. It just wasn't good, man. This Tommy Dreamer, the integration here. Eli was great, and he is great and continues to be underutilized by the company. But, man, I hated this Dreamer promo. He being Eli Drake, powders out, leaves. I want to put over Ray Lynn. She has improved so much since her OVW days. She had a match with Tessa Blanchard. And really the only spot that I thought looked sloppy was her running up the turnbuckle. Tessa does a cutter, stops Ray Lynn from doing one. A buckle bomb and a buzzsaw DDT wins it. Ray Lynn is a girl who I used to see wrestle in OVW, and I was like, man, she looks like a valet trying to be a wrestler. Just not be good. I've seen her not be good so many times. And she was good on Impact. And not just good because she was in there with Tessa. She was giving it to Tessa. She was really powering Tessa around or not powering her around, but giving her some stiff shots. This was good. Tessa then trashes Taya. She'll always just be Johnny Impact's wife. So here's a problem I have. I'm stoked for Taya and Tessa again. They have a good type of chemistry, and I didn't like a lot of Tessa's work before this. But Tessa Blanchard, I don't know how to put it. She's a bad bitch. I believe her. Taya is physical enough and looks imposing enough to where I believe her running off Tessa, especially after a match. But whoever agented this segment, if it was anybody, why did you not tell Taya to take off her goddamn heels before this? Why are they having Taya run out there in high heels. Not high heels, but heels, pretty high up heels. And she's trying to stay balanced, and Tessa powders out. Tessa should have just pushed her over. I don't get that, man. I don't get that. Other than that, man, am I excited to see these two at Homecoming, and probably going to be the type of match that I think could headline that show. Referees are backstage complaining about the unsafe work environment because Tessa punched one last week, who reffed her match this week, by the way. Scarlett shows up. She has a knockoff Ralphus. Man, I don't get it. Why are you doing this? The knockoff shit, the blatant ripoff shit. It even says Scarlett Personal Security. It's a guy who looks like Ralphus. Is it not enough that they did the waving finger in the shot gimmick, like the Arthur deal from BTE? You got to do that too. Come on, you got something at least interesting in Scarlett. Don't give her a knockoff. Alaba and KM, I really like them as a low-level tag team. I really dig that. I don't dig LAX having to wait like 30 seconds for him to do the running ass bump to the face. But there's a funny spot where they are in each corner, standing, they being LAX, pronouns pal. Shout out to the Pritchard show. But then he being Falaba quakes the ring and they drop into the corner. There's a great punt DDT that sets up KM to get pinned by a Lionsault leg drop. Now, that's Ortiz doing the leg drop, Santana doing the moonsault, or vice versa. But it was a bad one. It was a bad Lionsault. It was hideous looking because they were too far out and knees caught KM's face, man. We see a segment backstage where Conan does not want a Lucha Brothers LAX title match. Those are a couple of his boys, doesn't want it. Alicia Edwards finds Moose backstage and pleads with him to, I don't know, just not be a shitty person. And I am pleading with Alicia Edwards to not have shitty acting. Eddie Edwards does show up later, and Moose, I thought, cut a great promo here. He was very good, very entertaining, very asshole-ish. Way more charismatic than he was in our interview together last week. And Eddie shows up and attacks him and gets dragged away. We see a vignette for the Rascals, which is a stoner team in Impact Wrestling. Zach Wentz, Trey Miguel, Desmond Xavier. I'm down for this. I mean, I don't like that 70s show vibe of it. Just do something different. Like I said, don't rip some shit off, but I'm cool with it. I like it. It seems like it would work really well. I mean, it would at least get another demographic. So why not? Ring of Honor, highlight of me reviewing this show this week is Shane Taylor and Jeff Cobb. This was a great Hoss battle, and they obviously like Shane Taylor a lot, and I've been told they like Shane Taylor a lot. He T-bones Cobb. Cobb hits a delayed vertical suplex for one, but they're going back and forth. Cobb's been running through a lot of people, including Punishment Martinez. So for Shane Taylor, immediately to get an amazing amount of offense on Jeff Cobb is really, really good for him. I mean, this is a guy that if they can get under a deal is going to be one of their prime guys. The spot of this match, holy crap. And I think that this move is overdone in pro wrestling, but Shane Taylor hit a goddamn Canadian destroyer on Jeff Cobb. John Bias says, something there, SRS, you're worrying me. Yeah, the neighbors have some sort of weird machine, like some truck is over there. Don't know what it is, but if you've if you've ever watched any of my shows before, you know that I little shifty neighbors over there. Yeah, I am kind of keeping my eye on that. Apologies. Jeff Cobb wins it with the Tour of the Island. Man, this was a good match. I went out of my way to recommend this match to to Alex because he loves a good hoss battle. And this was a good hoss battle. I am all about it. So Adam Page comes out. His contract is expiring soon, but it looks like they're building up Cobb for a win over him at Final Battle, which we will be covering. We will have a live post show on. And they beat up a bunch of security guards. One manages to get spared and is sitting there in the ring frozen. Page spares him. And then Cobb beats him up. Marty Scurll cuts a promo on the Hurricane. Man, you know what? Shane Helms, you're welcome for us giving you the rub at Fightful. I mean, we let him end the podcast at Fightful. We'll say it that way. We won't say that we ended the podcast on Fightful. He gets freed from the chains that are Impact Wrestling. Makes a Royal Rumble appearance, an All-In appearance. He's all over Ring of Honor TV. He's all over Being the Elite. He's all over the network, all because of Fightful. What are these neighbors doing? I'm excited to watch Scurll and the Hurricane again. Hurricane Helms has been doing some good work. We had the Bouncers, which is Brian Malonis and Beer City Bruiser, against Cheeseburger and Eli Isom. Bouncers really beat the ass of Cheeseburger. They just whip his ass, man. Eli Isom gets a hot tag. Cheeseburger gets a pendulum DDT and an Isom suplex on Beer City Bruiser, which was impressive. But closing time wins it. I like the contrast in styles. Cheeseburger is the preeminent underdog in Ring of Honor. So putting him with a young upstart like Eli Isom seems to be a good idea. And Ring of Honor, they're losing another guy. When you speak of characters, Silas Young is a character. Looks like they might be losing him soon. Contract's up at the end of the year per Wrestling Inc., per his interview with Wrestling Inc., rather. Scorpio Sky gets the crowd into the worst town thing. I really think that he should just say that. The crowd should say it with him instead of him sending it to the crowd. SCU says that they do not have contracts beyond this year, and they don't, from what I understand. But that's just Kazarian and Daniels. I believe Scorpio does. But they want to end the Briscoes' reign of terror. We're getting Briscoes, Addiction, Bucks at Final Battle. If Bucks leave, if Addiction leaves, that would be a nice farewell. That show is shaping up to be good. It was looking like we were going to get Lethal and Taven on that show. And But you're talking Lethal and Cody, Page and Cobb, that triple threat. Ooh, that's going to be a good show. Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham bring out their partner. Dalton Castle looks a little bit thicker. He's coming back from a knee injury, but you wouldn't be able to tell he's got a knee injury or had a knee injury. Gresham does a cutesy counter to virtually everything. Vinny wants Castle. If you're asking me to invest in a Kingdom main event, it's real hard for me to do that, man. I mean, you all know how I feel about that. Hey, Steven Jensen's going to bring you a new view. He's going to think some of the things that I like are shitty, and he's going to like a lot of the things that I don't like. Ugh. I'm glad that Ring of Honor guys can talk to the cameras, though, because that does help Taven. Taven is a smarmy little prick on camera. So the fact that he can be a smarmy little prick on camera to the camera is a little bit different than what WWE can do and what a lot of Impact can do. And I like that. And he throws Lethal all around the ring and pretty violently as well. Like he's trying to get that main event push. Lethal hits a cutter on TK. I am with Dash Wilder. I wish everybody would stop doing a cutter, including Jay Lethal. I wish he'd do something else. Or if he's going to do it, don't do the handspring into it. Dalton Castle really works people over with his knee. You can't tell that he's had surgery. Gresham gets a springboard moonsault, a cannonball, and then shooting star into Vinny's knees. Lethal injection on TK, but then a bangarang on Vinny for the win. And Dalton Castle eyes the title as we go off the air. So they're keeping Dalton Castle involved in that main event scene. So right now, it looks like Ring of Honor could lose Cody, the Bucks, Paige, Silas Young, Christopher Daniels, and Kazarian. That's 7 big names. 7 real big names. Now, they brought in a few people here and there, but not nearly enough. Jeff Cobb is a big one, but they need a little bit more. World Tag League results today. Cobb and Elgin defeated Tsuji and Yamura. Sabre Jr. and Taichi defeated Hanma and Narita. Suzuki, Izuka, and Desperado defeated Killer Elite Squad and Kanemaru. And then your World Tag League tournament matches. Finlay and Juice defeated Umino and Yoshida. Nagata and Nakanishi defeated Tenzan and Kojima. Chucky T and Beretta defeated Paige and Takahashi. So if you wondered where Takahashi lays in all this split with Paige and that group. Then you had a main event of Naito, Sanada, Evil, Bushi, and Takagi against Okada, Ishii, Yano, and Roppongi 3K. Joey Janela's LA Confidential results. Great Sasuke defeated DJZ. Tony Deppen over Jungle Boy. Brody King defeated Bob Holly. Penelope Ford defeated Human Tornado. I am so glad Human Tornado was on that show. Ethan Page defeated D'Lo Brown. Jimmy Lloyd defeated Kikutaro. Mima Mino, Delilah Doom, Facade, Jake Atlas, and Chase Owens. Fatu defeated KTB. Just so you know, that's Jacob Fatu. Eli Everfly defeated Marco Stunt. Marco Stunt broke his leg. You had Nick Gage defeating David Arquette. That got ugly. David Arquette shot on Arquette, for the love of God. Took him down during the death match. That was wild. But I'm glad Joey's shows are doing well, and I'm glad to see Human Tornado on one. Impact spoilers for 11-12. Hammerstone defeated Nick Brubaker. Scarlett Bordeaux dances. Taya and Impact defeated Blanchard and Moose in a mixed tag match. Following the match, Moose speared Impact. Tessa was going to hit Taya with a chair, but Killer Cross stopped her. Cage came down and went out after Cross. Impact and Cage had a stare down. Jake Chris defeated Willie Mack in an Ultimate X qualifying match. Don't know why they're jobbing Mack out so hard. Allie defeated Heather Monroe. Same situation as the week before. Ethan Page defeated Matt Sydal in an Ultimate X qualifying match. Jordan Grace defeated Ruby Reyes. Swan over Dave Christ in an Ultimate X qualifier. OVE attacked after the match, and Mac made the save. That will be a good feud for them. Trey Miguel defeated the departing Trevor Lee in an Ultimate X qualifier. Phoenix defeated Santana. Moose over Brian Cage when Edwards attacked. And then Disco Inferno ended up getting pinned and having to put on the turkey suit in the Turkey Trot Gravy Train match. Can't believe it. Eli Drake defeated Tommy Dreamer. Taya Valkyrie over Ray Cray. The Rascals, Rich Swann and Willie Mack defeated OVE, Ethan Page, and Matt Sydal. Eli Drake sets up a Monsters Ball match with Abyss at Homecoming. Dreamer comes out and brawls with him. Raven shows up. He and Dreamer take out Drake. Allie defeated Kiera Hogan. Jordan Grace makes the save when Allie and Sue Young attack Hogan. Fuck. Defiant Squad beat KM and Falaba. Oh boy. Katarina defeated Lisa Lacey. Lucha Bros over Impact and Johnny Cage. Brian Cage. Cage accidentally hit Impact. They do a pull apart. Apparently, they taped some matches in San Antonio as well. Not all of these will make television. EC3 over Marcel Barthel. EC3 says he's coming after Bobby Fish. Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan defeated the Mighty, but the Mighty left them laying afterwards. Lars Sullivan defeated Keith Lee. Kona Reeves came out and called Lee a disappointment. Reeves gets destroyed. NXT tag title match. War Raiders defeat Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, but it's by DQ. Ricochet made the save for War Raiders. Velveteen Dream defeated Johnny Gargano. The Horsewomen, Shafir and Duke, defeated Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane. Tommaso Ciampa defeated Aleister Black. Let's go ahead and get into this injury report. Let me put it on display for Ewans. Roman Reigns on the Raw side announced he was battling leukemia now almost a month ago. Sidelined indefinitely. Triple H tore his pec a couple of weeks ago. He has had surgery. I will update that. Alexa Bliss has been sidelined with a concussion for a month. Bobby Lashley working through a separated shoulder. Jason Jordan recovering from neck surgery. He says that he will come back. Fandango tore his left labrum in early July. He is sidelined until late 2018. Sami Zayn had double shoulder surgery in June. He is expecting or targeting a WrestleMania 2019 return. Kevin Owens had double knee surgery in October. He is expected to miss 4 to 8 months. Goldust has not been around at TV lately. He's actually out doing some scouting for WWE after getting double knee surgery in July. He was at the Invicta event this weekend. Also said his career is nearing an end. On the SmackDown side, Rowan tore his right bicep in August, expected back in the spring. Luke Harper had wrist surgery, has been out of action since October. Becky Lynch broke her nose on November 12th. Missing Survivor Series, removed from Starrcade. Sin Cara had knee surgery in August, expected back in the spring. Ty Dillinger got a hand injury on October 29th, and it will require surgery. My God, I am all over the place. Tegan Knox tore her ACL, LCL, MCL, dislocated her kneecap, tore both meniscuses. No timetable for a return. Torn pectoral muscle in late April 2018 for Sabatelli. Required surgery out till next year. Moss, a torn Achilles tendon in mid-April, expected back next year. Eric Bugenhagen, who you've never heard of, has a concussion. Pete Dunne pulled from October 2018 shows due to undisclosed injuries. He is still planned for the show this weekend. Sanjay Dutt and Impact towards right Achilles tendon. Return unknown. Rosemary has an undisclosed knee injury that happened in early February, out of action until next year as she tore her ACL. Ring of Honor New Japan. Cody Rhodes working with a torn meniscus. He will undergo surgery in January. Taiji Ishimori, minor ankle injury on October 31st. Tennille Dashwood, October 2018. She had shoulder surgery, sidelined until next year. Hikuleo had an ACL injury in March, expected back next year. Takahashi landed on his neck on July 7th, has not wrestled yet. No updates on him, but Shibata has that subdural hematoma. He will be sidelined indefinitely still. I mean, he's not coming back. John says, those neighbors have you? No, my injury report is on the monitor to my left. Janela sidelined up to a year after September 2018 knee surgery. Joey Ryan's expected to torn pectoral in early November. He'll require knee surgery. Vanessa Craven broke her leg in late October. That requires surgery. Marco Stunt broke his leg today. That is unfortunate. Let's get that screen share off of there now. Fightful Wrestling Weekly. Boy, do I have some goodies for you guys. I went over a lot of this previously on Select and talked about some of the heat that's on Nia Jax and all that. So we'll get to that. But last Thursday, I received a press email from El Rey touting the premiere of the season 4 finale of Lucha Underground. The show had aired 12 hours before, which should show you the level of dedication that El Rey has to that show right now. Also interviewed Ariel Monroe ahead of Ladies Night Out tonight. We talked about Candice LeRae teaming with her after she had taken one of the most brutal lumbar checks from her husband, Cedric Alexander, ever. She said that Cedric fully expected that to go viral, and it did, and he came home and showed her immediately. More on the ins and outs of our interview with her in upcoming weeks. But I will tell you guys, since this is behind the paywall, I also talked to her for an upcoming series in the same vein of Wikipedia fact check and making a finisher. It's called Enhancement Stories. You may remember essentially the pilot version with Gangrel earlier this year. I talked to Ariel Monroe about working with Nia Jax. Also have one with Britt Baker in the can. So look forward to that. I was able to speak to Triple H this week as a part of the NXT TakeOver media call. I asked him about the shift in hiring practices for WWE, citing Punishment Martinez and Shayna Baszler as examples of them hiring older talent. Triple H said there was never any hard and fast rule against it, but it just became the norm. He specified that he wouldn't have a long list of people that were in their late 30s, early 40s that they would be looking to hire to start their career or get going. But a lot of times he'll bring people in like that, and they will end up transitioning into a player coach role and be able to benefit people. And said that the backup role has been an option for some of their international talent as well. John Bias says PCO. Well, PCO says he doesn't want to come to NXT. Says he wants WWE main roster. I also asked Triple H about the Breaking Ground series and the possibility of a second season. Triple H seemed to indicate that it wasn't that big of a success, although it was well received. He said it was a learning experience for them, and he believes in the series, but it would have to be done differently. A couple hours after I asked that question, they launched a Performance Center YouTube page where they have basically that type of content on there, so go figure. I think that's what he was getting at. Triple H also put over the culture of what they're doing at the Performance Center and says that if somebody is going to threaten the culture and the morale of the WWE PC, he'll eliminate them before it becomes an issue. He said that Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, and Johnny Gargano are experienced names that are helping out the wrestlers underneath them. SmackDown news. All day on Tuesday, the listing backstage for the main event was just match. WWE has altered a lot of their documents this year to specifically throw me off and to, quite frankly, keep me from getting information that I'm going to put out there. But this was because of the major title change that was planned. But they have kayfabe people in the past on stuff like this and have switched it up. They had Styles and Bryan listed as the main event a while back, and it wasn't. So they were definitely trying to protect that secret. The Becky Lynch story. The injury, we were told Tuesday, would hold her out of the Survivor Series main event. Initially, when she came through the curtain, well, she was supposed to leave with the SmackDown girls initially. But then they pulled her out so that she could get checked out by doctors backstage. And initially, when Nia Jax came back, the sentiment was, okay, shit happens, no big deal. Then the footage came through, and people saw how egregious it was, and that changed, and the SmackDown crew was particularly pissed off at her. The SmackDown group is way more tight-knit than the Raw group. I don't know if that's a secret, but if it is, it's not anymore. Tuesday, I was on the MMA podcast, and I started to get messages from sources who don't usually reach out to me, talking about Becky Lynch and saying she's likely out. And then Ted Gruber, a journalist who I'm friends with, said, yeah, I'm hearing that Becky's out. Double checked, said, can we get this confirmed? And I did. And that put some more unrest in that SmackDown locker room. If you had to ask, the Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey stuff, they've had influence over their whole their work in recent weeks. But Paul Heyman's been helping out Ronda Rousey since like 2 weeks left in the Bella thing. And I don't think it's been good, quite frankly. I don't think her words are resonating quite as well, and writers know that too. No timetable for Becky Lynch's return, but WWE recognizes what they have in her. Don't think that this is like some sort of thing that they're going to screw up. They know what they have. Guys, thank you all so much. 2 weeks, Steven Jensen will be hitting you with these reviews. I'll be doing something special with the Fightful Wrestling Weekly. Check it out. Let people know that you got your scoops from Fightful. We're out.